Tom, I was watching the game next to you yesterday, was I not?
Good morning, people. I've walked in on some kind of lunacy here, but yes, I can verify that Ty was sitting right next to me.
He wasn't looking at TikToks. He wasn't on social media trying to build social media cred the whole game.
Didn't have binoculars looking at the Ole Miss ladies or anything.
He was closely paying attention to the finer details, Tom.
He was asking pertinent questions such as, you think Smith was the right choice to start here? How long would you leave in Evan Taylor? He was plugged in. Ty, good job.
Oh man,
thank you. Your check's in the mail, Tom. I really appreciate it. Oh, I'm glad I prepaid you for that quote. Well, Tom, appreciate you joining us as always, and I know you've been busy just because sitting next to you were talking. You were talking about those questions. I think that question was answered. We'll start with what you said. Was Hagen Smith the right starting guy? I mean, here's a true freshman that comes in a closeout, do-or-die situation for Arkansas. If he pitches bad, Arkansas probably loses that game and is eliminated from postseason and the rest of their season. But your thoughts on the performance from the freshman from, I'm forgetting high school in Texas, but what he was able to accomplish for Arkansas in his start yesterday?
Yeah, I think it's Bullard. But, for him to tame that lineup the way it's hitting right now, I mean, their postseason winning streak was 7 games. They were blowing up on people. They scored 13 on Arkansas the other day, and he just mixed his stuff, as they say, and he had them off balance. And he's doing this with a little bit of a scratchy throat. They had to test him for strep, and I think, as Dave Van Horn put it, we had to test him for strep and other things. So hey, he's doing well. It's just so weird that the position Arkansas is in right now. They're bringing back their ace on 4 days rest, and their closer, the right-handed closer, Brady Tigert, has really struggled in his last few outings. Their left-handed closer was Hagen Smith, and he just gave you 5 innings. And their other potential closer, Zach Morris, worked a very tense 9th inning yesterday, or Evan Taylor, who threw 30-something pitches in that game. So if they win today, their pitching is going to be something to behold as they take on Oklahoma in the championship series. But let's don't get ahead of ourselves. It was a wild game. They finally played a close game yesterday. It was the first game that was less than a 4-run differential, and the Razorbacks come through in the 9th. It was a clutch situation. I had a certain calmness about me when Morris came in. I felt like he was going to get the job done. And Matt Jones of our Whole Hog Sports and the ADG talked to Zach yesterday, and he said it was the calmest that he's felt in any game of his life. And it was a thing of beauty for the Razorback fans that in such a tense moment, bases loaded, no outs, you got a 2-run lead, that they come through.
And how about from the offensive side, because we've talked some pitching, how about Lanzilli hitting his 3rd home run here in Omaha, Tom? And I think he's at 11 or 12, so basically 25% of his home runs have come here, not just in postseason play, but at the College World Series. Why do you think that he's had so much success hitting the long ball in one of the better ballparks in the country?
Yeah, that's a great question. He's hit more than a quarter of his home runs because he's got 11, and he's hit 3 here, including one that was just like a moonshot that we never really saw where the ball landed. We just saw a crowd reaction, and that was when the left fielder could not see, for Auburn's left fielder, could not see with the ball. And, Kevin Graham a couple times yesterday struggled. I think the first hit of the game by Braden Webb, Kevin Graham, you could tell he couldn't really locate the ball, which was over his head for a double. So Lanzilli's just been a very aggressive. I asked Dave Van Horn about him last night. He knows it's his last go-round. This is what he came to Arkansas to do. And so, Michael Turner's having a fantastic series, A, at the plate, where he's got 5 RBI for Arkansas in 4 games, and B, calling pitches. Dave Van Horn said yesterday that they suggested a couple of pitches, and otherwise that was a Michael Turner called game, and it was just a gem. for Hagen Smith, for Evan Taylor, Tigert hit a couple of batters and just didn't have his best stuff. And then Zach Morris to come in and do what he did was phenomenal. And Brady Slavens hit maybe the home run of the tournament, the 436-footer to dead center field. So, there wasn't a lot of hitting yesterday, but the key hitting went to the Razorbacks.
Tom, whose ace can be more ace today, and is that the deciding factor in who wins the ball game?
I think if you start drawing down the list of all the factors that will determine the outcome, I do believe that Connor Nolan versus Dylan DeLucia, which guy has the better stuff, that's going to determine the outcome. DeLucia has been just the true definition of an ace. He's 7-2. He took a no-hitter through 5 against Auburn the other day. Amazing. He had a good game against Arkansas where he pitched 7 innings back on April the 29th against Connor Nolan. Nolan pitched 8 innings, but he allowed 11 hits in that game. And it was still relatively low scoring. Ole Miss wins the game. So I think Arkansas's hitters are going to have to – I think they're going to have to really bring it and do something to rattle or rough up DeLucia to have a chance to win this game.
The move for the game time today is, I think there's some weather forecasted for later on in the evening. They don't want the end of the game to be threatened. Playing at 3 o'clock, maybe with some shoulders that don't have full recovery from the previous starts. Do you think the heat of the day helps? Does the lack of rest hurt? And how does that extra 3 hours for the winter factor into the rest to get ready for the weekend?
Yeah, those are all factors, and I think maybe the NBA draft is tonight, and so that might have played a role in the 3 o'clock as well. I wasn't aware of the weather, but it's really hard to say at this point. If that favors somebody, what it does for their arms. I mean, Connor Nolan did. His start was earlier in the day than DeLucia's because the Razorbacks had the day game, Ole Miss the night game that day. So he's got a few hours on DeLucia. And then I'm not sure what the heat was. It wasn't as bad. I mean, it was hot, but the humidity wasn't as bad yesterday. So maybe if we have a repeat of that, it won't be too miserable for the players. But you know what? This is what they all come to play college baseball for, why they're on this stage, to win a game like this. And no matter which team wins, Oklahoma will be at a pitching advantage. I mean, it's just unquestioned. So I expect to have another fantastic game, much like yesterday's.
Ty and I were talking earlier in the show, and Vegas wasn't putting odds on this, but if they were, they would bet it long. Think about right before the SEC tournament or following the SEC tournament, the idea that Ole Miss and Arkansas were going to play and the winner goes on to the national championship series. I don't know how long those odds would have been, but like 1,000 to 1 feels right to me, Tom.
I know. I agree with you that they would have been 2 of the longer odds among all teams in the SEC, with Tennessee being as hot as they were, and A&M, and some other teams, Florida hosting, things like that. But yet, talent wins out maybe in this case. That Ole Miss, I believe, was picked to win. They had so many veteran position players returning, and a nascent DeLucia and so on and so forth. And Arkansas was picked number 2, I think, in the West. And, again, another veteran roster team. And yet, when we get down to the very end of it, those are the 2 SEC teams left standing, the ones that people had the most trust in to begin the year with. So I think it comes full circle, and that's what we've seen play out here.
Tom Murphy with us here on the Morning Rush, Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, Whole Hog Sports. Tom, one of the big storylines for Arkansas's pitching yesterday was keeping Tim Elko off track. Now, 2 days ago, we saw him hit a massive bomb. How does Connor and the other guys that we'll see step foot on the diamond for Arkansas on the pitching mound, how do they continue to combat one of the best hitters in baseball in Tim Elko?
Well, Connor's slider is going to have a good break, because if you just throw a spinner up there and he sees it and it's in a hitting zone, he can punish it. And the thing is, Arkansas wanted to throw lefties against this lineup that's got a bunch of lefties in it. When you think about Graham and Chatagnier and Dunhurst they've got a bunch of lefties. And so you just have to kind of take your chances. I know Hagen Smith walked Elko, and I know he struck him out. I mean, Hagen Smith's third and fourth innings, he had 6 strikeouts, and, probably as good of command and stuff as he's had in weeks and weeks and weeks this year. So Connor Nolan's going to have to be sharp, because if his breaking ball isn't breaking with authority, Elko and many others in this lineup can make him pay for that.
Tom, great stuff as always. We look forward to visiting with you again, perhaps on Monday. It's either the deciding the championship's been decided, or a deciding game on Monday. We'll wrap up what's happened or what's ahead when we visit again.
Yeah, it should be exciting. Y'all all have a great weekend. See you.
Tom Murphy, Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, Whole Hog Sports, with us here on
Partners
the morning.
at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, including updated odds on the NBA playoffs, fights, and even next season's futures. And don't forget that the MLB is back as well. Who are you picking to win the World Series? BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino and poker games. It's super easy to get started. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to join and use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.